The End Times. According to Islam, this concept represents a time near to doomsday when Quranic morality will come to prevail over all the world. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has described it in considerable detail in his hadiths, that is, his sayings. After the Prophet, a number of great Islamic scholars have given further accounts of the subject. All of these reveal that the end times will contain a number of consecutive events. In the first stage of the end times, the world will become degenerate because of a number of philosophical systems that deny God. Mankind will move away from the purpose behind its creation, leading to a terrible spiritual emptiness and moral collapse. In the wake of great disasters, wars, and suffering, mankind will seek the answer to just one question: where does salvation lie? At that very moment of despair, God will charge a spiritual entity to call mankind out of the chaos and onto the true path. The Mahdi. The word means, he who leads people to the truth. According to the Prophet's sayings, the Mahdi will first wage a struggle in the Islamic world and return those Muslims who have broken away from the essence of Islam back to true belief and morality. He will have three basic tasks at this point: the overthrow of philosophical systems that deny God and support atheism, putting an end to practices that are not part of the religion but that are portrayed as being so, and the revealing and implementation of true Islamic morality based on the Quran, starting with his own nation and moving on to strengthen the entire Islamic world in political and social terms, establishing peace, well-being and security, and resolving social problems. The progression in the end times was described in some detail by the Prophet Muhammad in the Hadiths 1,400 years ago, and in the works of various Islamic scholars. In addition, in our time the portents of the end times are actually coming about, one after the other. Since these signs you are about to witness may have happened separately at one time or another, they may appear to be quite ordinary events on the surface. Yet the occurrence of so many portents, one after the other in a very short space of time, cannot be regarded as a coincidence. This succession of all the events described hundreds of years ago, in just the way that they were described, foretells the coming of the Mahdi in no uncertain terms. The halting of the Euphrates is one of the portents of the Mahdi. Turkey's greatest river, the Euphrates. This river witnessed a major event in 1975. The 210-meter-high giant Keban Dam cut the flow of the Euphrates. In other words, it halted it. The portent indicated in the Prophet's hadith had come about. Another hadith on this subject says, God's messenger said, "The hour will not come to pass before the river Euphrates dries up to unveil the mountain of gold, for which people will fight. 99 out of 100 will die in the fighting, and every man amongst them will say, 'Perhaps I may be the only one to remain alive.'" Let us now consider certain expressions within that hadith. The hour will not come to pass before the river Euphrates dries up to unveil the mountain of gold. According to the unanimous view of commentators on the hadiths, this statement refers to the halting of the flow of the river Euphrates. Indeed, in 1975, the construction of the Keban Dam did cut and halt the flow of the river. The hour will not come to pass before the river Euphrates dries up to unveil the mountain of gold. Thanks to the construction of this 210-meter-high mountain-like dam, the land in the region became as valuable as gold for such reasons as the production of electricity, the water collected in the dam increasing fertility, and increased ease of transportation. The results of this enormous development project, known as the Southeastern Anatolia Project, or GAP, clearly reveal the truth of this. The region thus gained new economic opportunities, its income went up, and unemployment fell. On the other hand, one story recently covered by the press clearly revealed the truth of the expression employed in the hadith. According to the story, photographs from satellites proved the existence of piles of gold on the Euphrates riverbed, and that these could be seen if the waters drew back. For which people will fight? This expression in the hadith refers to fighting in which many people die. The owners of the land in that region suffered terrible losses because of the anarchy that went on in the long period of terror there. And many people lost their lives. In short, the statements in the hadith came about, one after the other, and were experienced just as it had been said they would be. There will be 2 eclipses in Ramadan before the Mahdi emerges. Lunar and solar eclipses are perfectly normal physical events that have taken place numerous times in the history of the world. However, they have been most infrequent in the manner set out in the hadith. This most infrequent event actually happened very recently, and for 2 years in succession. In 1981, or 1401 under the Hijra calendar, there was a lunar eclipse on the 15th day of Ramadan and a solar eclipse on the 29th day of the month. In 1982, or 1402 Hijra style, there was a lunar eclipse on the 14th day of Ramadan and a solar eclipse on the 28th day of the month. Coming together at the same time as the other signs of the coming of the Mahdi, these events in the early years of the 1400s of the Hijra calendar and repeated in a miraculous manner in 2 consecutive years, this strengthens the possibility that they are the events referred to in the warning. Before he comes, a comet spreading light will come from the east. The birth of that star will follow the eclipse of the sun and moon. In 1986, or Hijra 1406, a tailed star, Halley's Comet, passed very near the Earth. Its direction, as specified in another hadith, was from east to west. The birth of this star at the same time as the other indications of the coming of the Mahdi confirms that Halley's Comet is the star referred to in the hadith. Whenever this comet has passed by in history, most important events from Muslims' point of view have happened. According to reports of our Prophet's words, when the comet passed, the people of Nuh were destroyed. The Prophet Ibrahim was burnt. Pharaoh, who fought against the Prophet Musa, and his people were destroyed. Halley's Comet's last appearance in the end times announces to us, as stated in the Hadith, the coming of the Mahdi. People will go on the Hajj with no imam at their head. When they descend to Mina, the tribes will savage each other like dogs, and there will be great wars. To such an extent that feet will be covered in a lake of blood. This massacre described in the Hadith actually happened in 1979 in the attack on the Kaaba during the Hajj. 30 people were killed in the fighting that broke out between the Saudi troops and the militants who staged the attack. The attack came right at the start of the time when the other signs of the coming of the Mahdi were taking place. In other words, in the first days of Hijra 1400, on Muharram 1, 1400, or November 21, 1979. Seven years after this attack in 1979, or Hijra 1400, in Hijra 1407, another worse and even bloodier incident took place during the Hajj. Attacks on pilgrims